Hello again everyone, here on this video today I want to talk about the Warcraft remasters, specifically Warcraft 1. Warcraft 1 was probably my first game I remember playing and watching my siblings play as a kid. First thing that came to mind was just how dark the game was overall, and had me feeling a little uneasy despite not really having any suspenseful elements. I mean, some of those unit portraits don't exactly look too child friendly, and overall the color was darker for a video game. Didn't help with the intense warlike music that thundered with the drum beat. Eventually I did get over this, and I'm glad I did because this darker tone is what I think makes Warcraft 1 original for the RTS. The art style, yes, was blocky and pixelated, but it was detailed enough to make you understand the grim environment of Azeroth. The narration that was done during the mission briefing was well voice acted.
Your task is simple enough that even the war chief feels that you are capable of it.
Expanded the story further outside of the gameplay, and prepared for a vast Warcraft lore that is known and admired today.
Welcome to the world of Warcraft.
And despite Warcraft 1 not aging as good as the other two preceding games, mostly due to the clunky mechanics and primitive controls, it still has a big place in my heart as my first RTS that got me into the genre. Warcraft 1 has never had a remake or even any updates since its launch back in 1994, but now Blizzard has decided to remaster it in 2024 for its 30-year anniversary. And from recent experience with their disastrous remaster of Warcraft 3, this was nail-biting with its surprise release. So let's go over some of the changes Blizzard made for the remaster. Firstly, the visuals have been updated to what is claimed to be hand-painted drawings that mimic the old art style. First impression I felt was that they kinda remind me of mobile game graphics, as the unit proportions are completely out of scale. This can easily be seen between the footman and the knight, where the footman has a much larger shield than the knight, and the knight has a bigger head than the footman. For the orcs, the spearman, grunt, and the raider, not including the wolf, are all disproportionate in size. The spearman looks like a dwarf compared to the grunt and the massive raider. You probably might say, well, maybe the raider is supposed to be bigger, but when you switch to the original graphics, you don't have this issue, as all the units are scaled similarly in size. I'm not totally against the visual change, because at least now with better resolution you can clearly see the detail of the unit's weapon and armor, but it could have been executed better. The music theme seemed to have changed slightly to a higher quality than even the CD-ROM versions. The change was only minor, and I still enjoyed them. Other basic changes include a menu screen that has had some texture added to it, and a modern font change. The in-game UI had the same changes, along with the hotkey indicators added to the command icons as a quality of life feature. Another quality of life improvement is now being able to select up to 12 units instead of 4 with only holding the right mouse click and dragging it instead of having to press Control first. This was probably one of the best improvements of this remaster, as now the amount of micro commands are reduced when moving an army of troops. Also, control groups have been added to better help in micromanaging your different unit groups across the map. Unit health and magic bars are visible above the unit sprites to help you properly reformat your troops to keep injured ones in the back and provide healing to them when needed. These bars were not shown when at full capacity to try to avoid screen clutter. Campaign missions are now unlocked and can be played whenever once you have beat the previous mission, meaning that you no longer need to load your save file to reach the mission that you are on. So that pretty much sums up all the additions of the Warcraft 1 remaster, and for starters, I gotta say it's pleasant that this classic RTS finally gets some attention and TLC for being the founding game of a big game franchise in Warcraft. But was this remaster really worth it? Although there was a few added quality of life updates, overall the game was still lacking a lot to make it playable for a modern day player. No attack area, where clicking attack on the ground will have your units attack any nearby enemies. Obviously, this is time consuming to have to click each of your units to attack one of theirs in order to spread the attack. And also unfair, because if you notice, the enemy attacks, they benefit from this by having their units attack multiple units of yours. This would have been an easy update, as Warcraft 2, which has the same game engine as 1, introduced it in BNE, so why not just implement it as a quality of life? Same thing with the unit queuing and unit rallying. Though it has never been introduced in any Warcraft 2 version, The AI in Warcraft 1 benefits from these RTS features, while the player doesn't. Some of you I know are going to come out and say, well, remasters are not supposed to change the way the game is played. Of course, but these are minor quality of life changes, and it wouldn't impact the gameplay too much. If anything, this would encourage a new audience who cannot bear some of the classic RTS repetitive tasks and clunky mechanics. The other major issue that should have been fixed, as it was a problem back when it was released, is the horrendous pathfinding for long distances and peasant resource gathering. I mean, did the devs for the remaster not know this was an old age problem, or is it not worth the fix according to them? Wouldn't it have also been nice to have some added content if Blizzard was going to price this remaster as much as a new game? Maybe add in a few new units, some campaigns like an expansion, or I guess DLC we call it nowadays. A good example of this was when Age of Empires 2 HD was released, and because of its success in bringing in new fans they released 3 more DLCs. This revived the Age of Empires franchise that was quiet for a time after Age of Empires 3 was released in 2005. The big question that needs to be answered: is Warcraft 1 Remaster worth purchasing? Probably not, for what little improvement and additions you get out of it. Way too similar to the original game, that if you already own it, you might as well play that instead. But here I am wishing that I could take my own advice. I ended up purchasing it, and die-hard old school Warcraft fans will likely also, because this is how today's Blizzard uses nostalgia and our sentimental feelings to push us to buy half-assed remasters. The only good thing that came out of me playing and beating the Warcraft 1 Remaster is simply that, nostalgia. So what do you think? Are my criticisms about the lack of quality of life updates in the Warcraft 1 Remaster just? Something also to note that there is a difference between a remaster and a remake. A remaster focuses more on updating the graphics, visuals, and quality of life while keeping the same engine, same story. StarCraft Remastered is an example of a well-executed remaster that didn't need much or any quality of life updates. A remake has a completely new game engine made from scratch. The story may have changes to it, and the visuals are changed completely. All of this is done because the original game may have had way too many outdated elements. Dune 2000 is an example of a well-done remake of the classic Dune 2 RTS. It used the Red Alert engine along with changing to live-acting cutscenes like Command & Conquer. The route of a remake probably would have been better suited for Warcraft 1 because of its primitive mechanics, but knowing Blizzard, they would somehow half-assed it and still charge $79.99. I do want to talk more about Blizzard on the next video I create about Warcraft 2's remaster and how much this company has changed since the launch of its first 2 Warcraft games.
But that is a story for another time.
But for now, let me know your thoughts on the Warcraft Remaster. I do enjoy reading your comments. If you like this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe. It will help this channel greatly. Thank you all so much, and we will catch you next time.